Welcome to another student-led event. So if you ever want to do this, lead an event, just grab a faculty member and have them help you walk through the process. So Max came to me and asked how to do the process of bringing a company in to do a presentation. And this isn't the first time.
Second time, yeah.
Second time. Third time. So you showed great leadership in doing, you pretty much did the whole activity yourself, didn't you, in this case?
In a way, yes.
You had a great organizational skills of having to walk this process all the way through until we could actually hold the event. And then you get a little sprinkling of marketing in there also, doing the flyer. And then to actually get all of the students to come in here. And you even went to different colleges and promoted this to different colleges.
Yes.
All right, so you did a great job. Very proud of you, Max.
Appreciate that.
And if everybody would please help me with a round of applause for Max. For taking on this initiative and making this event happen.
Absolutely. Hi everyone, my name is Max, and I'm glad to saw so many people here. We have a lot to cover on, and I'm excited. But first, I want to give you a couple of thanks out. First, I need to thank Professor Hughes. We all know, or we're all familiar with any architecture in a way and another. But if I can be honest or no, but managing an event like this one can sometimes feel like an N+1 layer of complexity. So I'm really glad for the Professor Hughes and a couple other professors to help me another way to actually push this event and make this one possible. I also want to give a thanks to John and the whole Triumph tech team over in the couch. I'm sure this guy has so many things to do back to the workplace, and it must feel like a day trip for them in a way. But I'm thankful you guys to actually make the schedule and clean the schedule, make the time for us, and share us your little insight and your knowledge. So without further ado, let's give them a round of applause and then let's get started.
All right, well, thanks, Max. My name is John Edmonston. I'm a partner at Triumph Tech. We're a local employer of technology products and services targeted towards churches, which is a very unique thing, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So before we jump in, I just want to give you a little bit about myself. 1995, I graduated from Northern Arizona University, and we'll come back to that story because I think it really ties in exactly where you guys are today. I think your generation and my generation share a lot in common, and it's super interesting. After Northern Arizona University, I went to work for Honeywell. Honeywell has facilities all across the valley. I worked at the one by the airport. If you're ever at the airport and you see the Honeywell buildings, that's where I worked. We made jet engines, mainly for high-end like business jets. Now, I worked there at a college, and I moved up through the organization and eventually worked for corporate and had the opportunity to work on what we called back then e-commerce, which is basically the internet, which is brand new back then. So I got to help set the standards for the organization on e-commerce. And at one point, I got to work directly with the CEO of Honeywell, somewhat remotely. I mean, we're working every day, but it was such an honor to work with Larry Bossidy, who is one of the greatest business leaders of our time. After that, I spent some time at American Express. I actually interned there before going to Honeywell when I was in college. And afterwards, I spent a little bit more time at American Express working again on e-commerce, and also Dial, the soap company, which is not called Dial anymore, doing some, again, more internet stuff. At that point, my life changed dramatically. I had become a Christian probably about 5 years before that, and I felt a calling to actually go to work for a church. So I worked for one of the nation's largest churches now. They're number 3 in the nation in terms of size, Christ Church of the Valley here in the Valley. And you probably see there are campuses all over the place. I literally went there thinking, I'll go there for 6 months, I'll clean up some stuff, I'll get bored, they'll get bored with me, and I'll just go find the next thing. But it turned into 13 years of just a wild ride. And I never would have thought that I would have the opportunity to apply what I learned in the corporate world, in the church setting, and to learn the leadership lessons that I did there. Many churches have like exceptional leaders at the forefront of their churches, and you can learn so much from them. And so that kind of changed my trajectory a bit. While at CCV, we made a church management system called Arena. So if you've never worked inside of a church, churches have huge technology needs, especially larger churches. And so we wrote this product called Arena. We sold the product because CCV didn't want to turn into a software company, which is smart. But it didn't go well. The company that bought it just tanked it. And so we started over and we created a new product called Rock. So Rock is another church management system. We learned our lesson, though. We did not sell it. We made it its own nonprofit, and we made it open source. So Rock RMS is our product. It's open source. Spark, the little logo you see there, is our nonprofit. And so it owns all the intellectual property of Rock. But we also have a for-profit business called Triumph. And we have to do that for legal reasons, like we have to pay our taxes and we want to be above board in everything we do. So our accountant said you got to have both. So we have both. So I'm speaking to you as both, but when we hire through Triumph. Again, that's for accounting reasons. So the agenda for today, we have a lot of things we want to talk about. We want to talk about who is Triumph real quick. We want to talk about the AI-driven future for about half the time, and then some leadership lessons I learned in my career that I think could really help you as you launch your career. Things I wish someone would have told me. So it's a little bit all over the map, but we'll kind of move quickly because we have a lot of content to go through. And we'll have questions at the end too. So first of all, who is Triumph? This is the nonprofit part of our organization that does a lot of different things for churches. So the big thing that I think a lot of people get confused on is like churches need technology. Yes, they have high needs for technologies. The Bible says like when you need to leave the 99 to go after the lost sheep. Well, the first thing you have to know is when is the sheep lost? And most churches don't know that. Even small churches don't know when someone's detaching from the ministry. And so software can really help us with that. Now, when you have maybe 35,000 people coming on a weekend, imagine this technology you need to have, not only for that lost sheep, but also to keep children safe, but also to create engaging discipleship programs that are personalized for every single person. So we're using technology to do all those things. What does that mean for us? It's primarily through our software that we write called Rock RMS. So that's a picture of one of the screens in Rock RMS. It's a church management system. Think of it as like a CRM system for churches, but it goes beyond that. It's almost like an ERP system too, if you're familiar with ERP systems. Okay, so where are we located? We're not that actually far. We're just a little bit northwest of here. So we're about 30 minutes northwest of here in Surprise. We're right on the cusp of Surprise, on the east side of Surprise. Very rare that there's a technology company in Surprise. Most of them are going to be in Scottsdale or in downtown. So people love it because they can live in the West Valley and not have a bad commute. What do we do? Well, we do a lot of coding. So we do tons of coding, all C#, JavaScript, TypeScript. We also have a consulting business. So as churches use our software, they need help implementation-wise. They need help trying to figure out what to do. They want custom development. We have a whole digital team that makes custom mobile apps, websites, TV apps. So we have both TV ML using Apple and BrightScript for Roku. And there's a lot of what I would consider more light technical or non-technical. We have a lot of communication needs that we need to talk to people. One of the things that if you're in an open source project, it's really about community. And so we're building that community through our communications. We always say Rock is not a product, it's a community. And so all the communication needs for that. So if there's business majors, I heard there's some business majors in here, we have a high need for that too. So we have a lot of different needs. We'll talk about some of the open roles a bit later. So these are some of the mobile apps that we make. These things are highly personalized. They're not just brochureware sites. These are sites you log into. We know exactly who you are. We know exactly what your next step should be. Create discipleship journeys just for you. As we talk more and more, you hear that we are very passionate about our mission. We're not just a technology company. We care about helping people in God's kingdom and getting them closer to God. And we're going to do that through technology. So technology is not the thing we focus on the most. It's ministry we focus on. And technology is our tool for doing that. As I mentioned, we are open source. So this is our QR code if you want to get to our repo and see. We're checking in our code every day. We have so many commits. I think we're well over 40,000 commits. So we actually have a joke on our door. In case of fire, commit push before you leave the building. It's a joke. We don't really want to have that kind of safety, but you don't leave for the day without pushing. You don't know where your laptop's going to go. Okay. I also mentioned the community. So these are our community members. These are people working in churches all across America. We have over 450 churches running on Rock all across America and actually all across the world, although majority of them are in America. So we're very passionate about these people. These people are on the front lines, but we say that Spark, we are the spiritual warfare arms manufacturer for the church. So we really feel like what we're building is weapons for spiritual warfare. And these are our soldiers, and we are giving them tools every day, and we're making those tools better so that we can change this world for the better. So again, all about communications and community. Okay, so enough about us. Let's talk about some interesting stuff, AI. How many people are using AI today? If you're not raising your hand, you're crazy. What's that? Yes, or you don't want to raise your hand. You're introverted like me. Man, it's changing so much. And I mean, it's even hard to talk about because every week it's changing. I want to talk to you a little bit in the beginning here about how it's changing for the church, because I think there's some interesting parallels of how it might change for other industries. Now, consider this. If you think of all the different digital content that could be out there in the world, it can fall into one of 5 categories. One is entertainment and arts. So that's going to be like your Spotify, your Netflix. That's where you go to get entertained. It can be in life and meaning. So you're probably going to, the channels for that are going to be like YouTube, podcasts, blogs, Bible apps. Like you want to change your life. You want to find meaning in life. That's another category. Skills and insights. You want to learn something new. Again, online courses. YouTube's huge for that. Social media. That's where you get all your who's doing what, and news and updates. Those are the 5 categories of digital content. If you look at the 2 that are being changed and disrupted the most by AI, now they're all being disrupted to some extent, right? But the 2 that are really getting disrupted right now are life and meaning and skills and insights. Those are changing drastically. Now, if you're a church, those are the 2 categories you operate in the most. So churches really have to understand this, but this is not limited to just churches. So how is it changing? People will turn to AI agents and assistants for content in these categories. So before we were going to mainly the web, internet, sometimes books, but that's getting less and less. But mainly the internet was our primary course to getting a lot of this content. That's changing to agents. So how many of you have seen your browser history decrease, the amount of browser usage decrease and the amount of straight agents increase? Yeah, we tend to go right there. I don't use Google that much. Sometimes I do, maybe once or twice a day, but majority of the time I'm going straight to an agent. That's a huge problem, especially for churches. So why is that a huge problem? Because mainly the consumption will be highly curated. So when you go to the AI agent, you're not going to the source of truth. With Google, you eventually land on the source of truth, right? You don't stop at Google and read the search results and said, found my answer. No, you click on one of the links and then you find your answer. And whoever wrote that answer got to directly talk straight to you. When you go through AI, it's being highly curated and it's being highly summarized for you. And we don't get a voice into how or why that happens. So this content will be subjectively summarized. Now, this is a problem for the church. And why is that? Well, think about where AI gets its knowledge. It gets its knowledge from everything. Every piece of material it could get its hands on has been put into its learning model. And what AI does is it tries to summarize all that content, aggregate it, and be very unopinionated about it, right? Because the whole world's a very diverse world. But if you think about our faith is actually very highly opinionated, right? There's only one way to the Father, and that's through Jesus Christ. AI doesn't really like highly opinionated, especially minority type topics. It wants to give you general things. Well, some people believe this and other people believe that. If people are going to AI to learn about faith or to get a faith background, they're not going to get necessarily the truth that we would want. If you're going to talk to your friend, you're going to go, no, here's the Bible. Let's talk about it. This is the truth. And AI doesn't do that. In fact, AI may not be against Christianity, not right now, but the way it puts out that content is not the way we would do it. And we're disassociated from even having that conversation because people are stopping there. They're not coming to us. Okay. And AI, because of that, will hamper our direct access to these content sources. So as a church, we want to have that conversation. We don't want to have AI summarizing and talking about it. That's a problem for the church. So the rise of AI agents and assistants will sideline traditional SEO, search engine optimization, and significantly reduce click-through rates. This is already happening. Rolling Stone magazine is currently in a lawsuit with Google because of this. They said, we want people to come through to our site, and your AI summaries are not doing that. We don't want to be in the AI summaries. And Google said, great, we won't put you in the AI summaries, but you're also not going to get listed in the results below. And that's why Rolling Stones is saying, well, that's not fair. So basically, click-through rates in general through SEO, not just churches, but all across the world are going way down. People are stopping just on Google, and that's a huge problem. Also, it'll become more and more difficult to do SEO. In fact, we say in the church, well, don't worry about SEO. There's other ways we can achieve that. Here's some percentages of queries that were handled through the web, through Google and didn't provide click-throughs. So in January, like 6.5% of all queries had an AI summary. By July, it was up to about 55%. And this was last year. So already, like how many times do you type in a Google query? What is the percentage of time you see an AI summary? It's pretty much all the time now, right? And how many times do you just stop there and you don't go any further? Well, that creates what is called a zero click. So there's no click-through. And that's a problem for not just churches, it's a problem for a lot of people. And guess what? It's only going to get worse. So let's look at the typical audience for a church website. You could have seekers. Seekers are like, hey, I'm looking for a church. Why do they go to the church website? To get organizational information, sample the sermon, say, hey, do I like the vibe here? And to find spiritual truth. That's why a seeker would go to a church website. Now, in the past, they're going to come through a search engine. So that blue bar coming into the church website, a lot of it is coming through the search engine. Sometimes people know, oh yeah, I know what church I want to go to, and I know its URL. That's rare. Usually it's coming through the search engine. That's that bigger pipe. But in the future with AI agents, they're going to go to the AI agent and get that information, and they're not going to make it to the church website. Church website click-through rates will drastically reduce. And that's a problem because we don't get to have that conversation with them directly. This will be the same for many other organizations, but it's super important for churches. And so I did this. I went to OpenAI. This was probably like 6 months ago. And I just said, hey, I'm looking for a church in Peoria, Arizona. And I was thinking, it probably kind of might work. It actually did an amazing job. It listed all the churches that I would have recommended to my friend and summarized them perfectly. I was blown away at how good the result was. And with this, I would probably stop. I don't need to go to the church website. Or I might just go to one church website where I might have gone to 5 before. Now, if I'm a part of the church, I'm a church family, why do I go to a church website? The biggest thing is logistics. And what I mean by that is like I need to adjust my giving, I need to sign up for serving, I need to sign up for camp. So I need to do like the logistics of the church. But I might also want spiritual growth. Hey, I want to learn more. I want to go deeper in my faith. Or I might just need the organizational information because I forgot the service times. I want to change. I can't go my normal service time. I need to find the other ones. So traditionally today, some people just can't remember their own church website. So they have to go through Google to find, oh, I go to CCV. What's the URL for that again? Some people go that way. A lot of people go direct. But again, in the future, it's going to be about AI agents. And I'm going to go to my AI agent. I'm going to say, what are the service times for CCV? I'm going to adjust it that way. Now, with churches creating agents, you'll be able to adjust your giving using your AI agents. Is anybody familiar with MCP? So MCP is a way for a church to broadcast skills to an agent, and the agent will go, oh, I know how to now adjust giving. I'll just use this agent right here, this agent skill. So pretty soon you're not going to go to the church website to adjust your giving or to sign up for a class. You're just going to go to your AI agent of choice, your assistant, and say, hey, sign up for camp. Sign Billy up for camp. Adjust giving from this amount to this amount. And again, people aren't going to be coming to our websites, and that's a problem. So we say in the church, we must develop our own outposts and drive direct and referral traffic to them. Now that's a little unique to church space. Not every business needs to do that. Some of them are going to be fine just being agent-based. But for the church, we need to have that direct communication, and there's ways and technologies that we're building to enable that. But you have to know the impact that the AI agents will have on the internet. I'm just going to skip through these because I want to focus on the next part. So now someone might say, well, John, this is what an AI agent looks like. Y'all use ChatGPT, right? It's all text. Really? That's the future? We're just going to be typing and reading text? That doesn't sound very exciting. And again, this presentation was created about 6 months ago. But that's what it is now. That's not the future. The future is dynamically created user interfaces by the agent based on what you said. And you're starting to see this a little bit. Sometimes when you're using ChatGPT or Gemini does this, it'll start creating like cards for you and scrolling. And this is being worked on right now. There's a whole bunch of people working on how AI will create dynamic user experiences based on your requests and the results. So that's the future. Google just announced and released a way to do payments through an agent. And it's really sophisticated. So you can go to Amazon and say, hey, a Google agent, I need you to buy plane tickets for me. I want to go to London in this date. Find me the best price. And it'll say, well, about roughly how much am I allowed to spend? And you'll give it the intent. You can give it an intent amount. And then it'll go find and search the prices for days, weeks, whatever you want. And it'll buy it when it's ready. That whole protocol is now fleshed out. So pretty soon, you're not going to go to Amazon. You're just going to say what you want. And the agent is actually going to handle the transaction for you. Now, you might say, well, that's kind of crazy. I don't know if I believe that. This, what I'm showing you here, is the first web browser. It's called Lynx. And I say I graduated from NAU in 1995, and that's important because I used Lynx in the lab at NAU. This is our first web browser. And we thought it was awesome. Like, we thought this was amazing. Like, we could tab through and like click on links and go places. Like, we were just blown away. Now compare that to the web browsers we have today. Like, this is a website we made. Like, no one would use the old website that we had back then, Lynx. And that's exactly the parallels. The only difference is it took us probably 15 years to go from the text to what you see here, like highly dynamic. Back in those days, nothing was encrypted on the internet. Like, we thought SSL, like, why would you need that? Like, we put our credit cards unencrypted across the internet, and we had no problem with it. Of course, now you would never do that. But this is what happened in 15 years is going to happen like in 15 months now. Like, the rapid change is so big. It's huge. I have some articles I wrote on AI. If you ever want to read them, just hit over to my Twitter profile. Like, I'm trying to help educate pastors on the cultural changes that are coming through AI because it's going to be drastic. We're not going to understand that. They don't understand that. If you're not on X, I just want to say you got to get on X. You got to be on X. Now, you might say, well, you'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy than X, and you're right. However, it's where the future is too. You have to be there. Now, if you see the scum and villainy, that's probably because you're looking at the scum and villainy, just being honest. Like, the first time you go to X, they're going to show you some garbage. Just say, I don't want that. I don't want that. Curate that. You have to curate your social media. And if you do, you will only get the latest technology. You'll only get the things you want. Just realize every social media is just giving you what you want. And if you're seeing stuff you don't want, you just need to tell it. Like, block, ban, don't look at it. Do not click on things you do not want to see more of. I couldn't live without X. Every day, I'm finding out the latest stuff, especially in AI, through X. Anybody heard of Claudebot? It's the latest agent. It just came out in the last week. and people are going crazy over it. As students, you have to understand this. If you don't understand AI, and if you don't understand the latest AI, you're going to be in trouble, and we're going to talk about that. But be on X, but be careful on X. Okay, so what are we doing with AI? I'm just going to breeze through these because I want to get to a lot of other things. How are we applying AI to our product? Well, there's two different types of AI broadly. There's generative AI, which is probably what we use most of. Like that's what ChatGPT is. That's when you create images, like you're generating new content. That's great, and we think it's great. Churches use it a lot, and we use it a lot. That's not where we're going to put a majority of our resources initially. We're going to focus on agentic AI. And so what does that mean? Well, we're going to make everything we can do in the product, we're going to make an agent and a skill for it so that AI can do those same things. So search for people, update a phone number, update an address, add to a group. Everything you can do in the product, we're going to create an agent and a skill so that the computer can do it for us. Now, initially, that's going to be as employees or churchgoers type into their AI agent or assistant, it'll go do those things for us. That's just the beginning. Not too long, we're not going to be involved at all. Like behind the scenes, things are going to be happening, and the agent's going to be like, I'll just call these skills, and I'm going to do all this work. We'll be involved for a while, but pretty soon we're even going to be out of the loop, and it'll be just the machines doing stuff based on our like traffic patterns. It's going to be doing a lot of the work that we're not even needed for. Trust me, we'll still be needed though, just not for a lot of that moving data around. So we're focusing on the agent AI. That's the one we're building. So we're creating this Rock AI agent. In Rock, you have to know one thing. Like we like our puns, and we have a mascot we call Chip. He's a rock lobster, which if you grew up in the '80s, you'd understand the reference to Rock Lobster, a famous song called Rock Lobster. It's a really bad song, but it's funny. So we tune into that. So we made our little Chip guy look like a robot. The community loves Chip. They'll do anything for Chip. Here's a funny thing that tells you how powerful our community is. It's a church management software. How exciting do you think that sounds? Judging by your faces, probably not very exciting, right? We've sold over $50,000 in Rock merch. Like, how do you get people to buy a T-shirt for a church management system? Like, we've made it fun, and they are so excited about our brand. It's kind of like if you use GitHub, the little Octo cat mascot. That's kind of what we did. So these are all of our skills. You can send emails. You can do anything you can do in the product. We're trying to make available in the agent. So this is just a quick demo. Like you can just type, hey, give me a summary of Ted Decker. Maybe I'm a pastor. I'm going to go meet him for lunch. I just need to know a summary of him so I can just catch up with him. And this is just showing you like a chat interface. Again, remember, this is all eventually going to be nice dynamic UI built for us by the UX, by the AI, and we won't even be involved eventually. Also, this was developed 6 months ago. The speed now is much faster. The speed problem here is not us, our code. It's actually the AI orchestrator having to make all the calls, and that's just dramatically gotten faster. So this is kind of old tech. So from here, I might say, okay, I know about Ted. Like, I'm going to go meet him for lunch. What's missing on his profile? If I'm going to meet him for lunch, maybe I can fill in some gaps here. And so it'll say, hey, he's missing his birth date. So we'll just kind of skip through that. Now I've come back from lunch. I'm like, hey, his birth date. His birthday is February 10th. And I'll just say, hey, update his birthday to February 10th. It takes care of that for me. I can then go in here and say, hey, add a note because I had lunch and we talked about ministry leadership options. And I want to put that on his record so I can be reminded of that. So I can just go and type that. I don't have to go create note, type in the note. It just does that all for me. I might also find out that his neighbor was in a car accident or a motorcycle accident. I want to have a reminder just to follow up for him and say, I'm going to talk to Pat. I can send text messages based on like, hey, it's great having lunch with you. And it'll just do all of it for me. Generate the text message, everything. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of help skip. I think you kind of get the idea. Now, the really powerful thing is I have all these agents and skills. Now I can hook it to a voice AI, and it can actually use those same skills through MCP. If, again, you don't know what MCP is, find out. you have to know MCP. You have to know what the concept of MCP is. And so now this voice agent will just walk me through and talk me through, and I can have the conversation all in the car ride to lunch and all in the car ride back to lunch. I can take care of all the notes and all the text messaging. Super, super powerful. It's all the same code. These voice agents just take.
Hey there, what can I do for you?
Oh, hey, can you give me the summary for Ted Decker?
Getting that for you.
And again, the speed is much better now.
Ted Decker is a member who serves as the outreach pastor at Rock Solid Church and is connected to the Peoria campus. He is married to Cindy and they have 2 kids, Noah, who is...
So imagine that you're doing all this on the car right there. It's just so much easier than having to type it all in. And so all this stuff is the stuff that we're actively working on. Okay, let's change course real quick and talk a little bit about some leadership lessons as you go out there to start your career. The first thing I want to ask you is, like, really, how do you feel about your job prospects? How many people are graduating within the next 6 months? Year? Some of you guys are not graduating. How about 2 years? All right, okay, so there we go. Okay, there's where it's happening. How do you guys feel about your job prospects, honestly? Who's worried? Okay, who thinks it's going to be pretty easy and good? Like, okay, that's probably about accurate. So let's just say emotion over time. I'm going to ask you a few other questions. I'm going to chart your emotions over time. So I feel like this was pretty accurate. Your emotion is about there. It's pretty low, right? Okay, let me show you a headline. Business activity picks up and continues showing signs of resiliency. Like, this was a headline. This was for October when we were going to present in October, but it's still not that far off. So that's a news headline. That actually sounds pretty good, right? So where's your, like, emotion now? Did you maybe go up a little bit? A little bit? Fair? Okay. How about this headline? Accenture lays off 11,000 workers due to AI. That doesn't sound super great, does it? Okay, so emotion over time. Oh, we took a dip, right? But if you read the whole article, and don't read headlines, please don't read headlines. Read facts, read articles. If you read this whole article, it actually says, yeah, they're laying off 11,000 workers, but it actually intends to increase overall headcount by the end of the year. So where'd those 11,000 people go? They were just dead weight. Every organization has some dead weight, right? And so AI is coming and it's going to take the lower end of the dead weight. So this article is actually encouraging. It should be encouraging as long as you're not dead weight. So don't be dead weight. So I'm hoping maybe we're ending up over here, like we're still positive. Now this graph, kind of sear it into your mind because we're going to come back to this graph. It's a very important graph that you understand. You guys are in a fundamental transformative moment in history where AI is changing everything. And I said in 95, when I came out of NAU, our generation shares something. The internet was changing everything. You guys don't remember a time when there was no internet. I do. My whole childhood, we had no internet. I was in college. I was your age when the internet came. And it was amazing. And you guys are so lucky to be born right now. In fact, you should be so appreciative to be born right now because you're not too early and you're not too late. You're just right. But if you do it right. So here's the thing. The Chinese word for crisis is that. Wei ji. Wei ji, thank you. Now I hope I get this right. This internet says it was right. Wei means danger. So the word for crisis, danger, it's also mapped with opportunity. So yes, you are going into a dangerous time, but there's incredible opportunities. You guys here could become probably the quickest to get rich that there's ever been in the history of the world, if you do it right. So here's one thing you need to consider. Think about AI skill sets. The gap between the expert in AI and the average has never been smaller. Why is that? It's not been around very long, right? So expertise is about time on task to learn a new system. Time on task to learn a new system. So everybody who's been out in the corporate world for the last 20 to 30 years, they don't know the AI any better than you do. So you're kind of at not an advantage, but you're not at a disadvantage. The gap space is the smallest it's ever been. So this is your opportunity to lean into that. Anytime there's a platform change, it creates a moment where a new class of experts are created, and there's no reason it can't be you. In fact, you're young. You can learn things faster than people who are a little bit older. Your neural pathways are much more elastic, and you can learn new things faster. So take advantage of that. So that should put your dot up even higher, right? I hope so. It should. It's truth. I'm not just telling you because I want you to know that. It's truth. Okay. So the parallels. I went to NAU. The education you're getting in GCU is far better than the education I got at NAU. And I'm not just saying that. Like, I was taught to be a mainframe programmer, COBOL, which you can actually get a pretty good job in COBOL today because everybody else has died. But I have no desire to be a COBOL developer. But I learned the internet in the basement lab by myself on my own. I learned how to make web pages. There was no great documentation. I just learned it. And you sit at the same place. Now, I went to Honeywell, and I was a client-server programmer, so I was like VB, if you remember Visual Basic. It was something like that. So I show up to Honeywell, I go, hey, Honeywell, I would like to do some internet stuff. Can I do some internet stuff? I think that'd be really great. And it's super needed. My manager had no idea what I was talking about. Literally. He's like, we hired you to be a client-server programmer, and that's what you are. I'm like, perfect, love it. But what I'm going to do is, do you mind on my own time, can I create an internet site for our department? And he's like, John, what you do on your own time, I don't care. I'm like, cool. Can I get a web server? Like, I don't even know what that is. I'm like, can I have an old computer? I got an old 286. I'm not sure if you know what that is. It's a super old computer. It weighed a ton. And I put an intranet site on. It was a lame intranet site. But I put it up. And guess what? The engineering team on the different campus saw our site and said, oh, someone woke up in IT and they know something about the internet and we need help with some internet stuff. So they called my director 2 levels above me and said, hey, can you guys help us with some internet stuff? He's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. He's like, well, you have a website, an internet site. He's like, who did that? And eventually they found out it was me. And so next thing I know, I'm doing some stuff with engineering. I didn't wait for the opportunity to happen. I just learned it. And then I started doing it on my own time. Anybody who says you shouldn't work on your own time is lying to you. So think about this. If you're going to run a race and you tell your competitor on the racetrack, hey, I'm going to go do some extra practice, do you think he's going to say, yeah, you should do that? He's going to say, oh, don't do that. You don't need to practice. Like, dude, like, I just want to get better. I want to be a better runner. I don't want to be better than you. I just want to be better than me right now. So don't listen to people who say you shouldn't work extra hard, especially when you're young, because that's when it's the best to do that. You guys, like, any business majors know the time value of money, that concept? If you invest early, the compounding interest, by the time you retire, you're like rich, even though you didn't make that much money. It's the same thing with your skills. If you learn your skills when you're young, they compound over time, and by the time you retire, you look really smart, but you're not. You just worked really hard. So you kind of have to make it on your own. So next thing you know, I'm doing engineering stuff on the internet. Someone comes and taps me on the shoulder, hey, can corporate want standards for e-commerce? Would you come work with us on that? Sure. My coworkers were like, hey, how'd you get that job? It wasn't even posted. I'm like, I don't know. Someone tapped me on the shoulder and said, go. And I said, okay, sounds good. I like the money. And so you don't have to like be competitive. You don't have to like go bid on jobs. Like, they're going to come find you if you just turn yourself into someone who knows all this stuff. And then all of that, God was preparing a path for me to do this for the church. Now, when you go to the church, you actually make a lot less money, but that's okay. Like, your rewards are in heaven. And that's what led me to here. So we live in the same world, the same generation. You have the same opportunities. I had great opportunities. I rode a wave of internet technologies. You can ride the wave of AI. Here's a question. Who's been to like an all-you-can-eat buffet? Everybody, please, yeah? Who leaves the all-you-can-eat buffet hungry? Has anybody left an all-you-can-eat buffet hungry? you did, you're not, not that smart. You leave like, you're like, oh man, this is overwhelming. So believe it or not, you are sitting in an all-you-can-eat buffet, and you'll never have this opportunity again. I'm so glad some of you are not graduating for like 2 years because you can take advantage of this. You're literally sitting in an all-you-can-eat buffet of labs that you can go play in. A 3D printing lab, a woodworking lab, a metal lab, all these labs, like go use them. Like, dude, if I had access to all these labs, I'd be all over the place. Go break GCU's 3D printer so you can go, eventually you'll buy your own and not break yours. All the professors are probably not too happy right now, but these things are free. You can go use them. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet. Why aren't you trying it? Like, you should be hooking up with your friends, like, let's go try the 3D lab. I know nothing, but we'll learn something. It's not that hard. There's a thing called YouTube. Like, it'll show you. If you're not taking advantage of all these services, you're crazy. You will never have another opportunity to have all these services. And I did that at NAU. I didn't have these services. We didn't have these things. Like, college back then was the dumps. Like, if you saw our union, you'd be like, I'm not eating in there. We didn't have all these labs. But I did have a really cruddy lab down in the basement that for some reason had internet access and no one else knew. We had to install our own TCP/IP driver onto the Windows devices so we could get access to the internet. But we figured it out. I figured it out. Take advantage of all this. I know it sounds nerdy, but dude, you invest in yourself. You're the biggest thing that you can invest in. A lot of people invest in the stock market. That's great. Okay, do that. But invest in your skill set. You will make more money on your skills than you will in someone else's business. So I would ask you, how many of these technologies are you familiar with? Neo4j, RAG. How many people know what N8N is? Good. Yeah. Docker, Kubernetes, Redis, FastAPI, Next.js, LangChain, HTMX. HTMX is cool. Vector databases, Superbase, OpenTelemetry. If you don't know all these words, like take that as a warning. Not that you have to be a master of any of these words, but you should know what they all are. And if you're on Twitter and you're following the right things, you would know most of these. Now, when I was at Honeywell, going back to Honeywell days, I noticed we used to have these things called mailboxes. Every employee had a little mailbox, and you go get your mail. I noticed a lot of people's mailboxes were stuffed with these journals, and they would come every week. And I was young. I'm like, how do you get those? And someone says, oh, you just fill out this form, and they send them to you for free because they want this. They want us to know about this stuff, and we buy their products. I'm like, okay. Am I going to get in trouble if I do that? Like, no, just stop it. Just go subscribe. So I subscribe to all of them. So every week I get this fat stack of trade journals, and I would read them all, cover to cover. And I understood about 0 of it. But over time, you start to pick up a little bit of things. Like back then, AS400s were kind of like this mid-range computer. The mainframe was a big dog. The AS400 was kind of in the middle, and then we had our PCs, microcomputers. I didn't know what an AS400 was, but I kept reading about AS400s. And one day in a meeting, someone said about an AS400. I'm like, oh yeah, UPS just invested heavily in the AS400 program. I just read it in a headline. Over time, it starts to make sense to you, and you start to get this level of knowledge. Could I program on an AS400? No, but it would be like this chart here. Clawbot, you should all know about that, because you should be on Twitter every day, looking at that, understanding it, not becoming a master of it, but becoming aware of it. If you do that, you're not going to have a problem coming out. But if you don't, you might have a problem because AI is coming. And if you know these things, you can be ahead of it. You can be writing and charting the course. I kept saying, sear this in your mind, because take the emotion over time label off of this. This is your life. And people don't tell you this. Every project you work on looks like this. Your career looks like this. That thing that goes down is called the dip. Every project that's hard has a dip. Every career that's worth having has a dip. Everybody gives up in the dip. It's called the pit of despair. If you're smart, you go, oh, that's the dip. That's natural. This happens. This is just what every project happens, and it's going to get better. And that's what successful people do. They navigate through dips in their life. And again, if you haven't hit a project like this in college, you need to get a harder project, because like you should be pulling your hair out, and you should sometimes be so frustrated you're about to give up and just go, oh wait, this is the dip. I was working on a hard project a couple years ago with a colleague, and it was a hard project, and we hit a point where they were very frustrated, and they're like, this isn't going to work. And I'm like, oh, hold on, this is just a dip. I've experienced this many times. Like, we're about ready to have a huge aha moment, and we'll get out of it. It's okay. And guess what? We did. We had our aha moment, and we got out of it. So I don't say this to say avoid the dip. Just understand that the dips are going to come, and you just got to push through. So I think the most important thing to know is realize that there are dips, and they're going to happen. There was a book that was very famous in my generation called Halftime. Halftime is about, basically the whole book is like, you get through halfway through your career and you realize you want to move from success to significance. And that's kind of what happened to me. I just realized I was successful in the corporate world, but I wanted to have meaning in my life. I didn't want it to be, jet engines are cool, but like, it doesn't mean anything. That's why I went to work for the church. And what I would tell you is, why wait for half your career to be over before you make something that's significant? Look for opportunities where you can actually have significance, have meaning in life early on. Don't wait to do that. Now, I made this equation for my kids. They're now your age, actually a little older now, I guess. But when they were kids, I wanted to have like a simple recipe. So success is equal to knowledge plus planning times effort. Okay, for you math whizzes, if you could only focus on one side of the equation on the right-hand side, which coefficient would you work on the most? It's not that hard. Which? Effort. Why? Because it's multiplying, right? So, and guess what? You have control of your effort. Now, it actually kind of works out well, because if you have zero knowledge and zero planning, it doesn't matter how much effort you have, you just go in a circle. But you all have more than a little knowledge, and with a little planning, I'm sure even the worst planner in here has some planning. But what you can control is only two things in life: your effort and your attitude. I wish I had learned that attitude one earlier. I'm still working on that one. But if you put your effort into it, anybody in this room can be highly successful in their career. And so think about that. Effort. It's all about effort. Okay. So yeah, you're going to control two things: effort and attitude. Now, the way I think about this too is like, we all want to be Spider-Man in a Batman world. Who likes Spider-Man? Okay, y'all wrong. Who likes Batman? Okay, better. I kind of say it in jest, but Spider-Man went to bed and woke up in the morning stuck to the ceiling. Like, he got his superpowers because he got bit. Batman, he didn't get bit. Like, he had to have grit. He had to grind it out and build these powers himself. Now, he had the same superpowers? No, he wasn't superhero. He was just a gritty guy. It doesn't matter, Batman or Spider-Man, who you like, but in life, everybody thinks life is like Spider-Man. You win the lottery and then you're good. The life is Batman. No one wants to tell you that. That's the only way to success, is to be Batman, to grind it out and to be gritty. And this goes to one of the highest topics within our organization we talk about. Comfort is the worst addiction. That's Marcus Aurelius. Super cool Roman emperor who has a book called Meditation. I highly recommend it. It's very easy to read. I'm not a high classics reader. I'm not that smart. But this is a very approachable book. Comfort is the worst addiction. Now, we always think it's drugs. Drugs are not the worst addiction. It's a bad addiction. Stay away. Don't go near them. But comfort is worse. In fact, I would say most people would take drugs to get comfort. You have to understand that. You have to get yourself uncomfortable. What we say internally, growth and comfort can't coexist. Now, who goes to the gym here? Yeah? I don't really go to the gym. But I'm told that if you go to the gym and you walk out and you're not uncomfortable, like your muscles don't hurt, that you're not really doing it right? It's the same thing in life. If you don't feel uncomfortable, I got to get in my comfort zone, you're not growing. So realize that. I love this picture of this kid. He is scared of that. And we've all been there, right? Sometimes it's on a diving board, sometimes it's not. It's irrational. You can actually see the hand comes up. So mom's in the pool. Look how scared he is. That's us. Like that's each and every one of us as we go through life. But we got to push ourselves to do that. Okay, same kid. What's the worst that's going to happen if we dive off a diving board? Like we face plant? Has anybody known someone who died from a belly flop? I don't. It hurts a little bit and you laugh and you get over it. Like that's the same thing in life. Like don't worry. You're probably not going to die. Oh, well, you could have a bad belly flop, I guess. But this guy lived. Like he's okay. You see, he's okay. Now this is the same boy. The same boy. Look at him. He's up there now. He's like, this is no big deal. Now he's pausing, right? But he's not pausing because he's afraid. He's pausing because like, hey, look at me. Check this out. Like by repeatedly doing it, repeatedly being uncomfortable, like it's no big deal. But here's the deal. Like God always gives us a bigger platform. But just be comfortable being uncomfortable. So Max, was it comfortable to put this event together? Right, but you did it why? Because you wanted to grow. So what I would tell you is find an opportunity to maximize your uncomfortableness. Like if you're going through like your semester super comfortable, like dude, you're not preparing yourself. I did this when I was in college. I was a part of this club, and I only did it to be on the resume. It's called the Data Processing Management Association. This was not a popularity move, okay? In fact, the guys in my dorm called me, well, let me get to that point later. One day I'm in the club and it's like, okay, we're gonna have to elect leaders. And I'm like, dude, I do not want that. So next meeting, we're gonna elect leaders. So let us know who wants to be a leader. So the next meeting, I literally had to take one hand and push my other hand up because I did not want to do it. But I ran for president, and for some reason I won. And then my dorm mates called me king of the nerds for like a year. And it was kind of true. We sold floppy disks outside the classrooms to raise money. You do not like get a lot of popularity points off of that. But I wanted to make myself uncomfortable. I knew I was going to have to speak in front of people, and I wasn't good at it. I knew I was going to have to take leadership, and I had no leadership skills. So I forced myself. It was the most uncomfortable thing I've ever, well, not ever done, but it was one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever done. When the first meeting I had to lead it, I was like, I don't know. The previous leader wasn't that good of a leader either, so I didn't know how to do it, and I had no training. Go find a way to make yourself uncomfortable. And as you do, you'll find the board gets higher. So what is the opposite of courage? You need it to be uncomfortable. What's the opposite of courage? Anybody? How many people say maybe fear? Yeah? Okay, it's not. I learned this recently. It's actually apathy. When you're apathetic, you don't care. You don't have courage. If I have to go do something to save my wife from like a train, is it courage that gets me through, or is it the fact that I care about her? I am not apathetic about my wife getting hit by a train. I will go. I don't care. I'm not even going to think. I'm just going to go do. And so if you're finding it difficult to do these uncomfortable things, that means that you're running into apathy. You don't care about your future. And if you don't care about your future, no one else is going to care about your future. Your parents might a little bit. In fact, you probably get a little bit bent out of shape when they kind of push you on you for some things. Like, stop. I've experienced that. But you cannot be apathetic about your life. If you do, it's going to be difficult. So Franklin D. Roosevelt, courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the assessment that something else is more important than fear. And your careers in your life is more important than the fears that you have. The worst you can do is faceplant. Chris Doe, he's an amazing designer. I'm scared, I don't want to do this. Okay, I'll try it. That wasn't so bad as I thought it would be. I didn't die, I learned something. This is the beginning of every great adventure. Being scared is a sign that you are moving in the right direction. Calm seas don't make great sailors. Like, he's an amazing guy. He's an amazing leader. Like, he's saying it. That first meeting I had at the Data Processing Management Association was a disaster. I couldn't speak well at all. I now speak in front of like 600 people, 700 people. I don't enjoy it, but I do it. And it's not a disaster. I'm always getting better, but I always room to improve. But people think it's like a gift. It's like, no, I belly flopped enough times. I just got tired of belly flopping. So I just watched YouTube videos and got better. I like Jerry Seinfeld. Anybody like Seinfeld, the series? If you haven't seen Seinfeld, it's like hilarious. Your blessing in life is when you find the torture you're comfortable with. He talks, if you ever watch him, all he thinks about is comedy. Like 24/7, all he's thinking about is comedy. He found a torture that he's comfortable with, and that's why he got to be good. It's the same thing. My whole career was torturous because it was hard, but I got comfortable with it. Or John Piper, he's a kind of famous theologian, still alive. Most of us are not in danger of ruining our lives, we're in danger of wasting them. That one haunts me. Like every year I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be the same person at the end of the year. I don't want to waste my life. God's only given me one. So let me just talk about leadership gravity real quick. And in fact, I've already kind of given you the story a little bit. Everybody kind of gets that area of their life where they want to have a little bit of leadership, and we don't. Here's what I think. Leadership is kind of like gravity. Gravity is created by mass. So you basically have to create mass. If you create mass, you create gravity. So when you start your career, you got no mass. Like you're just kind of small little dot. And I was like, okay, I'm a small little dot. But all you do is you get successful in one little project and it makes your dot bigger. You create mass. And that starts to draw other opportunities in. So when I made that little intranet site, did I go asking the engineering department to go give me the project? No, I created a little successful, like, dumb website, and then it created gravity, and it pulled me in these opportunities. And then when I had a successful project with leaders, with engineering, it brought more opportunities. And pretty soon, all these opportunities are coming in, and it's creating more and more opportunities, and you're successful, you create more opportunities, and it creates mass, which creates gravity. At some point, you create so much mass that you're like, stop, I can't do anymore. And that's when you start to lead other people, which is really hard. But I think a lot of people in life just say, make me a leader and I'll show you what I can do. And rarely is that ever going to work for you. It's like, I'll show you I'm a leader by what I'm doing today, and then that's going to pull those opportunities to you. You don't have to go grab them and pull them in. I had other colleagues who started the same day I started at Honeywell in my same graduating class. And they kept asking, like begging, hey, just give me this project and let me project management. I was too shy to say that. I just said, well, I'll just do well on my projects and see what happens. And then people started pushing projects to me. I didn't have to pull them. So don't ask for things, just show that you can do it. And if you just work hard, it'll just happen. Now, there's a saying from the movie Gladiator, what we do in life echoes in eternity. And for most people, this is not true. It's not true. Like, it's just a quick blip, and maybe their own family doesn't remember them. That's sad. But most people's lives don't echo in eternity. But when you work on spiritual things and you do things that matter, and when you improve people's life, those echo in eternity. Like, literally, we are going to live in eternity. Like, this is a small blip. So do something that matters to you. So just to follow up, you can always reach out to me, LinkedIn, email, X. Hopefully all of you guys are going on Twitter, X, in the next day. Also, I challenge you, find something uncomfortable to do this week. Do not say I will get uncomfortable like later this semester. Find something this week. If you can today, that's awesome, to go do. It doesn't have to be huge. Just be uncomfortable, and then get comfortable being uncomfortable. Okay, so at this point, I want to invite up the rest of the team. These are all GCU grads. I thought they can kind of explain, their career path here. What do they do? Things they've learned. Anything they want to share. We have a total of 6 GCU grads. One of them is a little bit more. Has been away from GCU for a while longer, so we brought the ones who've been here the soonest. Just gonna kick it off, Kyle. Sure.
So I graduated GCU in 2024, and then started at Triumph as a software developer right away, right after I graduated. And then did lots of coding for them, and recently have also become a team lead there. So I'm coding and managing other developers and triaging work. Yeah.
My name's Max. I'm sorry, we'll stick right up. But I started at Triumph back in the middle of last year, 2025. And I'm a full stack developer, so I'm underneath Kyle, and we do a lot of the day-to-day things that need to get done. Like I said, our software is open source, and that's an amazing opportunity because we get to interact with the community all the time and get to respond to issues that they might face or ideas that they have pretty frequently. So, so I get to work on the full side of the application, get to manage how data moves through it all the way, and it's just a great opportunity.
My name is Panya, and I graduated 2024 from the software engineering program here, and now I'm working at Triumph as a mobile developer. I work on iOS, Android, sometimes TVML, which is tvOS, and yeah, like I would like to circle back to what John was saying to give a little motivation. Is what we do is echoing throughout eternity because we're doing something bigger than all of us. We're working for a church, and in doing so, the church can help other people come to eternity, all of us, basically. So, yeah.
My name is Blake. I don't remember exactly how long ago I graduated, but it was like a year and a half ago, something like that. And I worked in hospitality for a little while after I graduated school. And I'm not very technical. I'm actually I have the most ambiguous role name at Triumph, I think. So I'm the product evangelist, which means I work with the community and I write documentation. I do documentation videos and a range of other stuff. So if you aren't technical, come talk to me.
Or you can talk to me. I'm Nicole. I'm Triumph's communications specialist. So I handle all of our marketing and communication needs for both the for-profit and nonprofit side. So that includes all of your typical like social media, emails, blogs, but also some conference planning and fundraising needs.
So our career QR code is that right there. We're looking for candidates right now for development, QA, project management, more to help Blake too with just helping people understand the product and understand technology within churches. Like we're not solely based on just our product. We want to help churches just get better in anything. And so we do a lot of like how-to videos. Like we have how-to videos on how to do SQL, some cool stuff in SQL, like because we know our people are out there doing some SQL stuff and we want to make them empowered. So we have lots of different job openings for this year and also perpetually. We always have job openings. We have about 43 staff right now. A lot of them are on site. We do have some remote, but we're trying to create more of an on-site community, which is harder these days. But we enjoy it because we can actually live life together. We can like see each other and realize, hey, how was your weekend? Talk about that while we eat lunch. So at this point, I guess we'll open it up to questions you guys might have on any of the topics that we talked about. If you want to ask questions about specific roles or.
Real quick, I just want to say one thing. When I first joined the company and during the interview process, I just want to reflect one of the things that John told me, and that is, and this is building off of many of the things John was talking about today, but if you think that it's a good idea for you to start your career just somewhere safe or somewhere that you can coast, that's a bad idea. And the environment and the attitude that all of us have every day is, what can we do to make a difference? What can we do to get better today? And the important thing that's going to help, it's helped me in my career, and will help all of you, is that if you can have that desire that you want to be uncomfortable every day, that you want to build and you want to create and you want to go fast, that's the kind of environment that we have. And if you have that, I would encourage you to look further into it.
Yeah. Okay, so this would be a point where you could be uncomfortable if you're not comfortable asking a question. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming in. I really enjoyed the topic today. The can you guys kind of talk about like falling in love with the process rather than working towards just a result? And maybe how you guys implement that in Triumph and in your career specifically. I think it's important, right, when you're working, not just to think about the result and kind of fall in love with like the learning in that process. You touched on it briefly, but you kind of go into depth with that.
Yeah, I think you have to have a love of curiosity. If you're curious, you'll do well in technology. I remember when I was in high school, we had to take these tests that would kind of tell you like what you'd be good at or what careers you might want to go into. You might have taken tests like that. So they asked questions like, would you be interested in this? Are you interested in, I remember one of the questions was like, would you be interested in watching like pea plants grow? And I said, sure, I guess, that sounds interesting. I don't want to make a career out of it, but and it came back and said I should be a farmer. And I was like, I didn't want to be a farmer, but I just think it got me wrong because it tagged me as someone who wanted to be a farmer, but actually I was just curious. And I think if you can be curious, then it doesn't feel like work. Like a lot of people like video games. Like your career is the ultimate video game. Talk about unlocks and levels up. It's kind of that way. So I just think being curious. I always told people if I won the lottery, I would do the same thing. I'd just buy a nicer chair. But and I think if you can find a career like that, it's not really a career. It's or a job. It's fun. Did that answer the question? Okay.
So like curious is like a good way to like start a career. So like how to make people believe that you are curious, because like nowadays looking for a job, you go to LinkedIn, like to all the job like searching, and you apply, send them your resume, but like how they really know who you are, because all resume like nowadays could be the same. Like could use like AI to project.
Yeah.
So what could like a company like know who they looking for and like believe that like we are like really interested in working?
Yeah, that's a great question. So how do you make yourself stand out, especially in a competitive job market? Now with bigger companies, it's harder because they have the resume services, they're scanning all that. Do that. But I'd also say go on LinkedIn, find some people who work there who have maybe supervisory roles in the area you'd like to be, and don't ask them for a job. Ask them to mentor you, or ask them to just give you, hey, could you just give me like a 10-minute call where you can just help me understand how to go better in my career. Here's one thing I learned, and it's true. If you ask people that to help you, most of the time they're going to say yes. We assume they're going to say no, but they'll say yes. Now, if everybody in the room asked me tomorrow, I couldn't say yes, but but people are willing to help you, and you might strike out on a couple, but I would just look for people on LinkedIn, say, hey, could you jump on a 20-minute call with me to help me start my career on the best foot? You're not asking for a job. You might actually want a job, but that's not the intent. You just want to ask for advice and wisdom. Most people are going to give you the time. If you ask for a job, they're going to be like, go to HR, apply over there. But I think if you find someone who has the career that you want, especially if they're a team lead, it might be a good way in. I'd also say too, I'm shocked at how many people apply at Triumph and know nothing about Triumph. They come in for an in-person interview, they know nothing. I have questions now. I always start with what did you learn about us? What's the difference between Spark and Triumph? Do you know anything about our Lava templating engine? These are the first questions, because if they did even a little bit of research on us, they would know those answers easy. I'm shocked at how many people just don't even come prepared and don't even seem to be interested in us. They just want a job. It's like, I don't know if that's... I'm not sure how well I did at that when I was younger, but I would just say prep for your interviews. And I think if you did a cover letter that said, hey, I'm really excited about AI, and I'm really excited because I see you're building it into your system, and I saw this other feature the other day, it just really drew me to your organization. Now, it may not get you past the AI document feeder, but if it ever lands on a person's desk, I read the cover letters and it's like, this is the same cover letter they send to everybody. It doesn't rule them out, but it doesn't give them any brownie points. Well, some of them are actually written dude, to be able to serve the church through my technology skills is something I never even considered. I'm like, okay, well, this was written for us. There's not too many like that. I think one of the things you can learn too is empathy. I had to learn empathy, and that just means like put yourself in someone else's shoes and see how it feels. So if you're like, hey, you're that person who's trying to find a person, but no one seems to care about them. They just care about themselves and about getting a job. You're just one of a many. But if you show empathy, you're one in a million. Does that help?
This is more about your product, but have you considered expanding to universities? Like, I work in tech support, and we use like old CRM stuff. Handling customers and stuff, it takes a really long time, and a lot longer than it needs to be. And I feel like in a lot of ways, the universities could benefit from your services. So I was wondering if you had considered that, or if that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. We have considered other uses for Rock. Health and human services, anything that has to do with a family, it'd be perfect for. Things that even aren't centered around families, it would be good for. We've experimented going out to knock on doors like that, but here's what we've learned, is God keeps coming back and saying, are you not busy enough? Are you not stressed enough? Because I thought you were, and now you're over here knocking on these doors. Like, I got a purpose for you with my church. And I'm not saying it could never happen. Like, if the economy went to complete south, we could pivot and we could put it into different places. But right now, it's a great question, but we're having a hard enough time growing our team, growing leaders, and servicing God's church that it's kind of like he's closed the other doors. Now, if someone came to us and said, hey, we see a usage for it, could we get a license agreement to use it for that? We might, but even then we've had some people like offer that, but they just they weren't putting in the effort. But for us, God's saying, you're busy enough, don't worry about it. But it could be for sure.
Other internship opportunities?
Yeah, we've done internships before during the summer.
Unpaid?
No, we pay. Yeah. I mean, a lot of our internships are unpaid, but we kind of want to have. We don't pay a lot for internships, but something. We've done some during the year too. I don't think it's exclusively has to be during the summer, but the ones we have, most of the ones we've done have been summer, but it doesn't have to be. So if you're interested in that, like the career page, sometimes you're going to see roles in there that maybe it's not quite what you're looking for. If you just apply, it goes into our system and it's not automated, and we don't have AI looking at them. We have actually human beings. So even if there's not an internship saying, hey, I'd be interested in interning in a position like this one, it'll get through us. We just want the best people. And honestly, we've had really good luck with GCU. I would say your generation, and I hate to stereotype generations, but your generation is doing really well. The millennials, hit or miss. But Gen Z is awesome. I feel like Gen Z is very similar to Gen X, which is what I am. I'm not sure why. Some people say it's because Gen X maybe raised Gen Z. I'm not sure that's true. But so far, our non-scientific poll of Gen Z has been very good. So high work ethic. Yeah.
I have a classic question. So it's both for you and your team member. What is the biggest mess up in your career, in your next career, and how do you fix that? And also, if I have a follow-up question, if you're looking back today, do you feel like, wow, I can't believe I made that mistake, or do you feel like, I'm surviving another crisis?
Why don't you guys go first?
My career is still pretty young. Like I said, I've been on the team for about 7 months. So I'm thankful that I haven't had any huge mistakes that I could pinpoint on. But one thing that came to mind is I had a lot of energy in, and this is not to take away from anything that John said in mentioning the tools that was on screen. But I was so focused on just building as much as I can with the new technologies and new. Like I have many private applications that I built using Next.js and that whole stack. So the context of what I'm saying is, it was a mistake of mine to overlook the fundamentals. Like when you're working on a software product that's been around for over 10 years, it's tempting nowadays to say, I don't need to know SQL because I can just have AI do it for me. That's not the case, and I've run into some issues where, like I said, working on a software product for that long, a lot of my job is just focused on performance, and we use SQL. So, in many words, my response is, while I think many of these new technologies that are out there are fantastic, and I'm working on personal projects right now, don't ignore the fundamentals, because even though AI is really good at helping you with those things, you still need to understand them. So that's my answer.
For me, I think the biggest mistake is not learning how to read documentation. And when you enter like the field, that's all like most of the time you're doing like new stuff, cutting edge stuff, and then you gotta not skim it. That's what I learned, like my bad habit coming out of college is just skimming documentation, and then you miss all the fundamental. And then you're like, okay, why is this not working? Why is this not working? And then if I just spend like maybe 10 more minutes on the documentation, I could have just figured that out from the start. So learn documentation, learn how to read it. It's just reading, but still, don't skip it. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I don't have any specific stories really, but I guess initially out of college, I definitely picked money over mission. And I thought it was a good way, like, kind of with compound investment, like make a bunch of money up front, and then later on I'm set, and then I can do something missional. But my job is super cool. It's it's totally worth it. And it's so much more fulfilling and enjoyable and worth working hard on than the things that I was pursuing before. So.
Fortunately, I started around the same time as Max did about 7 months ago. Fortunately, I haven't had any major like career belly flops in this role, but I would say that in the past year, like I did start and dissolve an LLC. So I guess in that sense, it would be like a business failed, but I think it's that way only if you really view it like that. Because I think I learned so much more going through that entire process, like finding a business partner, learning how to market yourself, learning how to like position your products and your services, that I can carry on with me now and in the future.
Yeah, and I'd say something that I've learned is very similar to what Max was describing, and the summed up version is to really understand the tools that you may use. There's so many nice tools that make writing software pretty easy, and I'll read through it and it looks like it's doing exactly what I want. And then in this specific case, it happened to be like something with Entity Framework, which is a ORM, and it read perfectly, but then underneath the hood, it was doing N+1 SQL queries in a loop, and that's horrible for performance when we got a lot of data. And that's common things with, if you understand Entity Framework, in that case, you wouldn't trip on that hazard. So it's a common lesson.
I would say a good catchphrase that I want to put on the kind of the concepts we're talking about. AI is fantastic. It's a great tool to help you write a lot of boilerplate, bounce ideas back and forth, help you think through a solution. Don't push any code that you do not understand. Like that. Please. If you have AI, write your code. Make sure you understand exactly what it's doing. Don't just trust it blindly, because that can cause issues, and it has.
I have one tangible mistake. I'm not as good as these guys. I got a few more years too. One of my first projects with engineering was to put a whole bunch of drawings online on the internet. And so we did it. It was a massive project. The engineers I was working with said, hey, this is so important to our whole organization. We got to get this right. And we want to track it. We want to have metrics. We want to show our leadership that this is working. I'm like, got it. So I made this metric system that went along with the system I was writing. So first week, man, people are using it. It was like awesome. Everybody's celebrating. Second week, more than doubled what the first week was. And everybody, like, again, throwing parties. Third week, more than tripled the second week. Fourth week, way more than that. At a certain point, I'm going, this doesn't make sense. These metrics can't be right. Because it's just almost logarithmic going up. And so I did a look at my code and it was wrong. The code was doubling the last week, and it was just completely wrong. So I had a choice. My first thought was, oh, I caught this early, this is good. I can write an algorithm that'll kind of smooth out the growth, because it's going to continue to grow, and eventually it'll get to right. And I'll just create a smoothing algorithm that kind of hides my mistake, right? And I think I could actually have pulled that off. But instead, I decided that I would call my peers in engineering that I was working with and just straight up tell them. They were very, very disappointed because they had gone to their leadership and sold this as a massive, thing. And so my mistake became their mistake. And I remember the phone call because they were in a different campus. So I called them and they were very discouraged. And so call ends. 2 days later, I get a call back from them. And they're like, okay, no one was happy about this. But I want you to know that because you just put it out there, you were completely honest with it, like your reputation actually went up. Like I know it was a mistake, but your reputation went up. And the one thing I would tell you that I learned luckily early on is never, ever, ever lie. Just have complete integrity, even on small things. If you have complete integrity and you don't lie even on small things, you don't have to remember anything. I remember just watching peers like having to remember all the little small white lies they told so they never got caught on little things. I'm just like, dude, it's so much easier just say it. And the sooner you can say it, the better. Like emotional drama gets higher as the project goes along. So like if you can call those fouls and call those mistakes early, it just goes away. When people find out later, they have a bigger problem. So never, ever, ever lie.
With like how many things there are to learn and like discover within software, my question is like, how do you kind of stay focused on like the important things to learn, and how do you like avoid the like, I think it's called shiny object syndrome, where it's like new thing, want to learn this, but you don't spend enough time like next new thing. How do you stay focused?
A quick answer that I want to say, and this can apply to when you're building personal projects. If you're building a project, nobody really cares how you did it. It's just, did you do it? Oh, I used this framework and this framework and this framework, and I use all these different. Yeah, but the end user is not necessarily going to really care about that. They care, did you do it? So, I guess my advice would be that there's a million different ways to do something, I guess, with all the new frameworks and technologies that are out there, but understand a core idea of what you're trying to accomplish and find at least one good way that you can understand how to do it, start to finish. And then you can grow from there.
I'd say focus too on 2 to 3 deep understandings at a time. But you also have to be a generalist. I mean, a lot of people say specialize, and I would say, be a generalist about a lot of things. Like all those little things, you should know what they are. You don't have to be an expert in them. And then pick 2 to 3 things to become an expert in at once. In my career, I think I've learned close to like 15 to 17 programming languages. I'm only like really good at a couple of them. But I do think being a generalist is really, really important at a surface level, and then go deep on 2 to 3. Anybody else want to be uncomfortable? It's a test. Okay, well, appreciate your time. If there's anything else you want to talk about, we'll be up around for just a few minutes. But have a good rest of your day.